everyone, it's Jen Fairbairns, and welcome to another beautiful episode of the OYNB podcast. Today, I've got a very special guest here with me who has gone through the Complete Control program with us and is currently also enjoying her time in our continuation program of that, which is Limitless. And I think this woman is super inspiring, and she cracks me up, which I love. So hopefully this will be a fun episode. But it's an absolute pleasure for me to introduce this wonderful lady. She has embraced everything about sobriety for now. She is tailgating, she is socializing, and she is loving life. I would love to give a warm welcome to MT. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you so much for taking your time to come and chat to us today. I would love to hear a little bit of an update. Obviously, we see each other within the program a bit, but I want to hear a little bit more about where you're at now. But to start things off, why don't you give our audience a little bit of background about yourself, as you know, as far as you want to share about where you're at in the world, what you do, and kind of a little bit of a backstory as to what brought you into signing up for this program, first of all.
Sure. So I live outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania and have lived in Pennsylvania my whole life. My professional job is a human resources director in a financial institution. Been at the same company for 20 years, been doing HR for longer than that, which means there's a lot of emotional interaction, there's a lot of people things, there's a lot of stress, and there's never a dull day, that's for sure. My background, I come from a Catholic family. MT stands for Mary Teresa. That's why we go by MT. And grew up with a family that was, we were very hardworking, blue-collar type of a family, strict, curfews, etc. But I learned to love that. And this is part of what makes me me. Control, strict rules. I was the oldest child, the oldest grandchild. So everybody looked at me to be the kid that always made sure that everything was okay and that, everything went a certain way. I never got in trouble. I remember when I was 15 years old, I was suspended from school from swimming in the school pool on a Saturday night. Innocent. And by today's standards, completely innocent, but you would have thought that I disgraced my whole family with something like this. So there was a high bar, but I didn't really realize it too much until I got further on into adulthood. Successful in friendships, successful at work, successful in, at least I had gotten married to the right guy. Everything was great. I always was the kind of person, though, that I was a guy's girl. So if we were watching a sporting event or something like that, I'm going to be the one drinking. I'm going to be the one going shot for shot with people. There was never a question that I was the person who could do that. And that's all well and good until you start hitting, your late 40s and 50s and things like that, start to pile up. My marriage ended in my late 40s, and a lot of that had to do with the fact of my alcohol consumption and just things that I did when I was drinking a lot. But I would never call myself an alcoholic. There was alcoholism in my family, but that wasn't me. None of that stuff. I knew how to control myself. I was, somebody else had those types of problems. COVID came. And we all know what happened when COVID came. There wasn't a clock. There wasn't a time schedule on anything. So happy hour was every hour, And after COVID, I continued to drink the same way that I always did. And, what I'm talking about is a bottle of wine a night. Open a bottle of wine, have a glass to relax. And then suddenly it's a bottle later and you got to get up for work the next day. And you get up for work, you feel like shit, you look like shit, nothing good about it. But by 6 o'clock the next day, you felt pretty good and you were ready to start all over again, you know? That was a pattern for a long time. During COVID, I saw 1 Year No Beer on Facebook, followed it, followed the stories. They were awesome stories. And I thought, I could do that, but I'm not going to give up drinking for a year. I'm like, oh my gosh, a year. Like, I wouldn't even, there was a guy, a nice guy that I had met that I wouldn't continue dating because he didn't drink. God forbid. Like I was with somebody who didn't drink. I mean, it just progressively, you got to know that it progressively was a lot. And in April, I had been drinking, and I always drank by myself at my house, didn't drive, things like that. I tripped in my own house and fell on my shoulder. And the next day when I woke up, the shoulder didn't feel any better. And my hangover was still there. And I was like, time out here. You are not going to be a fall down drunk who's slowly killing yourself with alcohol anymore. Something's got to give here. And interestingly enough, you know, I'm going through 1 year no beer, and complete control came up, and I'm like, all right, this is it. This is time. Let's start doing this. And I did. And, you know, fast forward, today is 6 months alcohol free. And I would have never been able to do that if it wasn't for this program. No way. You would have never said that this was possible for me.
Wow, it's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I mean, that's an incredible story. Oh God, so many things I want to touch base on what you said there, but that's the whole thing. The idea when you came in and first found OYNB was just like, I just can't do like a whole year, no way, because at that point it just felt like it's unattainable. It's not possible. I can't do it, and it's just too big. So I'd love to hear a little bit of how have you gone from, that's not that long ago, by the way, right? You're 6 months alcohol free now, time flies. So what essentially made you kind of make a decision to invest in the Complete Control program? Because it is a little bit of an investment in yourself, a considerable investment in yourself. But obviously, when you come to this point, you're like, I am ready. I want to do this for myself. So talk a little bit through what happened there. What made you really, that moment of like, I am not doing this. I'm not going to become that blind ignorant and injuring myself, and then signing up. And what changed within that program to a point where now you're just like, you're not really counting days, right? You're just really enjoying it.
Well, what happened with it was, and I said this in the first session that I had with you, the first session I said in group Complete Control, I was sick and tired of slowly killing myself. I was poisoning myself with alcohol, and I was tired of it. And I went into Complete Control saying, you know what? This is a program. This has structure. This has rules. This has all the rules for me. This has all the things that I like. Follow this, and this. But there was still a lot of commitment that you needed to make with it. And, I said, I'm going to do this. And, the first 4 weeks, we went through all the exercises and started to get to know people and things like that. I drank up until week 4 because even though in my head I was doing things and things were clicking there, it wasn't time yet. But at that week 4, I stopped, and 1 day became 2 days, and 2 days became 3 days. And, I learned so much about me. I did not know what self-care was. I think in my first coaching session with you and in my first coaching session with Emma, I said the same thing. I was like this stretched rubber band that was going to snap at any minute. I couldn't, if I had stress at work, I couldn't even get myself to get up, take a walk, and take 3 or 5 seconds to just get myself back together. That's how strung I was, and that's how much anxiety there was, in everything. And the drinking was that. It was definitely that. but I started to learn how to breathe, and I listened to the Calm app, and we did hypnotherapy and all those things that I called crunchy. This is what I said to Emma all the time. I called these crunchy things, like granola type of people. I started to embrace it, give it a shot, and they work. I mean, they worked for me. It wasn't bullshit. It was something that brought me peace. All of a sudden, you know, when something would go on, I came to a point where I could stop myself, take a couple of deep breaths, and things got better. And it just started to feel so much better. You'd get up in the morning and you had your stuff together. I don't have those broken blood vessels in my face anymore. My eyes aren't bloodshot. I don't feel like crap. I can sleep. It was like, oh my gosh, what had I been doing all those years? Because now I look at myself and I'm like, I am just not the same person as I was. Definitely not.
Yeah, I remember that so well. I think in from our second to third conversation that we had, or even if it was on a group calls, and it looked almost like you'd put eye drops in to make them super clear. I remember saying it to you, Mike, empty your eyes, so you're glowing. And there's often this thing we say about people: you're shining, you look glorious, you're just radiant, right? And that's really what starts happening. And I remember that so well happening to you, and the energy that you brought was completely different. So, I mean, this feeling of that before of feeling like, oh, I couldn't do it in a year. So what ties into that? The fear of missing out because this is what society does, and how am I going to go participate in sports events and all that? So talk me through, what were those feelings before, and like, what have you missed out on?
Sure. Absolutely. The fear of missing out, the fear of being boring, the fear of not being somebody that anybody wants to be around. I thought that all of a sudden people would go, oh, she's not fun anymore. Or I thought, how could I ever go to a sporting event or in American football, we tailgate, we have picnic party before a football game. How could I go to a concert, see live bands, which I love to do? How could I go to a bar? How could I ever go and drink nothing, or drink something alcohol free? I mean, it was just like just that fear. And, so much of our culture revolves around drinking. Every commercial makes it look so great. Everything shows it as glorious and beautiful, and all the people are dressed up and everybody's model looking and stuff like that. And you know what? Yes, they all look like that, but they don't look like that the next morning. And that's what we think we're going to be is fun. And you know what? Once I got past that fear, I realized it wasn't about that. It wasn't about the liquor. It was about me. And I have gone to day-long music festivals. I have gone to sporting events. I have gone to tailgates. I have gone to bars. I have gone to parties. I have done all this. And with the tools that I have learned, even when it's in the back of my mind going, oh, you know what, why don't you have a drink? It's like, all right, let's just wait 15 minutes or so. And if you still want it, we'll talk about that. And it goes away. Or you have something alcohol free. And you know what? People still want to hang around with me. They don't think that I'm boring. They don't think that I'm some kind of a, I don't know, loser or anything like that. It was, what was I doing all this time? Because you thought that alcohol made you this persona that was so larger than life. And I think still do everything that I was doing, and I have a really good time doing it.
Yeah, I remember, I think halfway through your complete control journey, you had Memorial Day, right? And you were going to the boardwalk. And I remember it was like your first week of going alcohol-free or something. And do you remember what I said to you about going and enjoying the sand on your toes? Yeah.
Yep. And smell, use all 5 senses and experience everything. You said smell it, taste it, feel it. And I did. I got up. amazingly, I got up early the first morning. I walked out to the shore, looked at the sunrise, smelled that air and just stood there. And I was like, holy shit, this is what it's about. It's about enjoying everything that's around me. And in my head, I could hear you. Because I put it in Slack that day. I was just like, oh my gosh, I heard Jen say, enjoy every minute of it. And you know what? I did. And it was just so, it was so rewarding. And to me, it was like, I would have never dreamed that I could have done this. And that was at the end of May. That was, after being alcohol free for maybe 4 weeks at that point.
Incredible. But that's the thing. I think people underestimate the feeling of purity, of feeling just being alive, experiencing being alive, looking up, seeing the sky, staring at the water, feeling the sand, without necessarily feeling like we need to hold the drink in our hand. But that is like, hey, quick, we're on the beach, grab a drink, or quick, we're at a bar, grab a drink, or any social event, because it's that conditioning. This is what the world has become accustomed to doing, right? So, I mean, that's for anyone to go and just give it a go. It's like, if you listen to the podcast and go like, hey, tomorrow I'm just going to walk out of my house. It might be cold now to go put your feet in the sun somewhere, but just go and experience the world, the nature, just being alive, just breathing in fresh, crisp air even, because you can really sense that. But if we're hungover or if we are tipsy, we're not going to get that full extent. And I guess that's one of the big things about coming through this. It's not about being alcohol-free forever. It's for now. I always say this for everyone. Just give it a shot and see what you feel, but watch how you get to regain your senses and how good that feels.
Well, and I said, too, that, you don't realize what your sleep is like when you're drinking. I mean, your sleep is just horrible. And now, I remember after a few weeks coming back and, all of a sudden I was starting to sleep better. And then one night I was like, oh my gosh, I'm dreaming again. You don't remember dreaming when you pass out in in an alcohol sensed, whatever that sleep was. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I had a dream and I slept well, which I missed for so long.
Yeah. But something to be said is that when we change our relationship with alcohol, it doesn't mean that our life becomes all rosy and rainbows and unicorns. Like life's still going to suck some days. And so, and what that means is we're human beings and we just need to kind of keep going. But what also happens when we change our relationship with alcohol, when we don't have that crutch, which it is for many to deal with ups and downs, emotions that are, difficult, things we want to escape from. It's a lot of escapism, which is a lot of people coming into this program, right? So, you're kind of exposed to all of these feelings that maybe we've been trying to avoid or run away from. And so, again, they're not going to go away, but we learn to deal with them. So do you want to talk a little bit about what it was like in the program, what it was like for yourself to dive deep into maybe the darker places where you've been avoiding before, and what was that like, and how have you in the process learned to become better at dealing with these? Because our past and our emotions are the way we see ourselves and feel about ourselves doesn't go away, and we're work in progress, right? So you want to share a little bit about what your journey was like in that?
Yeah, we started talking about trauma, and one of, that was a few early weeks in, and I'm like, I didn't have any trauma. Trauma is, having a horrible disease. Trauma is having something terrible happen to you. Trauma's that. And, in digging deeper, a little bit, everybody has some kind of trauma. It just might be a little T. I love saying little T. And mine was that, being afraid of being perfect, of letting someone down, of not doing what they expected of me. And that is nothing compared to trauma. But it is what made me that rubber band that was strung so tight that I could never do anything wrong, nor could I admit to anybody that I couldn't handle anything except what I did myself. I always had to do it myself. I always have to be in charge. I always have to be the boss. I always have to, do this. And through CC, we talked about those various things. I knew that I was an ESTJ. I knew I was a high D, but we dug things like I'm still an ultimate fixer. Like I became somebody who has to fix I was somebody who am somebody who has to fix everything. And my ego, we spoke a lot about, having that ego and saying, you give mine's name is Sheila. Hey, Sheila, stop this garbage. You're getting in the way right now. You're here. That's great. But I'm also going to be here too. And, if it wasn't for that program, if I read it in a book or saw it in an article or heard it on a podcast, it wouldn't have made sense. But it just logically fell into place when we did these various exercises and the various weeks, and things pulling through that way. And, you know, learning techniques of, as I said, like stopping, hesitating, breathing, getting control over something, and I am not perfect. It is still a work in progress, but for somebody who used to have to plan every single deal, I still plan a lot, but a couple of weeks ago went on a trip for a weekend and I didn't plan anything. We decided to go 24 hours before we went and didn't plan this and didn't have everything, spaced out. And you know what? It was fun. And I lived. Like, that's what I keep saying. Like, the world doesn't end because every detail isn't planned out. And if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have been able to face the fact of that. It was like, when I first started, it's like, okay, I'm an ESTJ. I'm a very, very high dominant personality. That's just the way I am. No, it's not just the way you are. There's things that you can do to work with that, so it doesn't have to be like a big, thumbing your nose to the world and saying, if you don't like it, tough. Because it's just not that.
No. And so the ESTJ, what you're referring to here, just for those who are listening, is the 16 personality test that we take people through. And this is something that you could try at home. There are several of these platforms. There's nothing particular. We just like that because it's a great way of kind of trying ourselves. And I know I've done it throughout the years, and I've had several different responses because we change, right? And like you say, you discovered that when you got your results, you're like, well, this is totally me. But it's not necessarily who we want to stay as. We're all work in progress, right? And, how do you feel coming through this and doing this work and being aware of yourself and coming into your normal life of work and in HR? It's a pretty tough business where you're in. And how have you seen, what changes have you seen in yourself when it comes to how you deal with work and how you show up and how you experience work inside and how you feel about it?
Yeah, for the longest time, every day was stress and every day was high stress, and everything would send me over the edge or almost send me over the edge. Or I'd come home and I wouldn't be able to let go of what happened, during the day. And that had gotten more and more, through COVID and then afterwards. And I tie that into the fact that it was drinking, more and more, and not having techniques in order to be able to let it to relax or be able to work with that. And, now there is the ability to be able to get up and take a deep breath and walk, or, having that moment of, oh, stop, just stop for a second, which, never occurred before. And when you wake up in the morning and you're not groggy and you're not cloudy and you don't have a headache and you're not hungover from the night before, it allows you to look at things in a lot different way. Instead of every day being a struggle, you get up and you're like, wow, this is going to be a good day. or I have something tough to do today and I got this. Before it was like, I got it until I get home and I can just relax and have a glass of wine or a couple of vodka and clubs or whatever it was. It's just that I can't, it's hard for me to put into words the ability not to have this strong grasp, everything's tension every day. It's gone. Yeah, there's still bad days. There's still things going on, but it's not constantly there where I couldn't, before CC, I couldn't remember a day that wasn't like that.
Yeah. And I think we felt that with people, what we feel that often with people still coming into the program, they feel like they're just keeping it together in many ways. And then they just exist. They just do. And then they come home and then that's their reward, or it's the way they get to check out and stuff. Right. And so, it's just become how we operate. It's normal. It's the normal. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, when we look at, the discoveries that you found about yourself, this need to be right, it couldn't be wrong, and how kind of we can become quite isolated in that way, can't we? How did you feel that for yourself, and then also being in the role in HR as well, which I'm sure can,
yeah, absolutely. I couldn't admit to people that I was using this as the way I coped, because first of all, I thought I'd be judged. I wouldn't be perfect. I wouldn't, I would have, people would have a different opinion of me, things like that. I mean, so you keep it to yourself because you think you're the only person and you're not, and when we start talking in our group calls with complete control and such, you realize like everybody's the same way and nobody's judging and nobody's talking behind your back at anybody. And, everybody's just shaking their heads because it's like, shoot, I'm like this too. I thought I was the only person who felt this way, and I'm not. And you know what? It didn't matter if somebody was in Ireland or somebody was in California or somebody was in London or somebody was in Philadelphia. We were all in the same boat. But it was so good. I mean, I have very good friends and I have good family, and you can have a support system, but it's not like the support system that you have when you're in this program. It's just not. People get it. They get you. They get what it feels like to be like that. And all of a sudden, like, you're getting emotional at something you would have never gotten emotional before because you realize you're not alone.
Let's pause just for a brief moment. I just want to share with you some of the heartfelt feedback from our incredible Complete Control community members. Listen to this.
I don't know how I signed up. I think I just got an ad on Instagram and just got a whim, just hit the button and did a call and then signed up and didn't really consciously think much about it. And then after that, I was like, what did I just sign up for? Wait a second here. Like, far exceeded my expectations. I'm usually extremely skeptical, so I don't know how I even signed up in the first place, but whatever it was. So it's just amazing how, like, the transformation that I've seen, and even the drinking part is just kind of it was the Achilles heel, but it's kind of just the superficial problem. And it's like, once I kind of clear that up, there's so much more possibility. And the exploration discussions with Gary, with Candace have just been so powerful, and they both kind of focus on a different area. And then with Glenn kind of looking at my data, and with my cohorts or classmates, or, it's just been everything has just been so powerful and kind of supportive of, completing the whole picture of how I do this. So just really grateful and yeah. And also just feel more grateful, and not only just for all of you, but just in life in general. It's just a little bit more clarity and peace and calm and so forth. So
I am incredibly grateful for this entire program, everybody on this call, and everything that we were able to experience. I think that it delivered more than I expected. Honestly, I like I've said before, I've done a couple of challenges and different things, and I think that this, beyond examining my relationship with alcohol and making, I think, pretty good strides in staying alcohol free. I think it taught me a ton about myself, and how to like examine my habits and my thoughts and those kind of patterns and ways to approach the things that worried me the most in this experience have just been invaluable. I think I'm leaving feeling stronger in general, more self-aware in general, and just really more anchored in who I want to be and what my values are and how I can, take better steps to achieve those. So it's been fantastic for me. And then again, our team, I really appreciate all the feedback and support from every single person on this call, but my cohort as well. It's been great.
So I love everybody that I've met here. I have loved the program. I am not an emotional person like this, but this has changed my life. It has given me a life. And there's other things I need to do too. But I don't have to do alcohol anymore. So thank you.
It's been an amazing journey and I appreciate the professionalism. Whenever I feel the stress, there's something that I can go back to everybody and the sharing from everybody and the professionalism of the program. So I loved it and I've grown a lot. So ups and kisses.
One word is transformational. That's a word that's been bandied about for decades, but in this, it is absolutely accurate. If I was to use one word, this was a great investment. It's not self-help, it's self-realization. It's super powerful, but it exceeded my expectations. Or maybe it was Sharon who said that. Or maybe I'm exceeding my expectations, and I like that.
I mean, the program has been I'm hugely grateful for the program. I think the journey for myself has been amazing. I mean, I remember telling, I don't know if it was Candace or Gary, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the program, I was like, I can't stop thinking about not drinking. It's in my head. Every day I'm thinking about not drinking. And it's like now I'm not even thinking about it. It's just like my life has sort of stepped on. I'm excited about the future. Things are looking good.
I just love sharing the things people are saying about our complete control program. Okay, let's get back into the episode.
How did you feel about it before? So when you signed up to this and you knew there was going to be this group element, be having that personality type, that's not how you felt. Tell me tell everyone a little bit about that.
Vulnerability, that I didn't even know what that, I mean, it's a word. It was a word. I love to talk, obviously. But I would never, I couldn't share, and I wouldn't share anything that was inside. Wasn't going to share something where I would be, leaving myself open to have people see the real me. Any of that. Like, there was nothing. Oh my gosh, like, that was all crunchy and that was all fine. I'm like, okay, we have to do these calls. I'll do these calls, and it was, the first few times you're just sitting there and you're like, people do have the same stuff that's going on. And you're doing that. And all of a sudden it's just like, wow, like when I talk, people are listening and people are getting it and things like that. And there's just, then it starts to make sense. Because otherwise, I spent years and years and years just, like I said, I drink at my house on my deck in the summer, sit out there by myself, and I kept it to myself.
I wonder how many people can relate with that. How many people can relate with this is what we do when we've got stuff going on for ourselves, stuff that feels tricky, difficult, and we deal with it maybe with alcohol, which will fuel that shame that we feel. And shame, as we know, is fear of disconnection, right? But what alcohol does, it actually fuels that disconnection piece, and how many can recognize themselves in sitting at home, either rewarding themselves or feeling like they need to check out or have had a stressful day and this is how they've learned to do it. And there's no judgment. It's just their habit. And so it does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of courage to break a long, kind of deeply rooted habit. And just like your story, where you're like, I just couldn't see myself even thinking about going a year. Whether you do a year or not doesn't matter, because right now you're at 6 months and you're like, this is so much better. Tell us, why is it so much better? What is life like for you right now in this zone where alcohol doesn't play a main part in your life and you experience life to its fullest? Even then, we had, like we said, crappy days, but in general, what is life like right now, 6 months in to just being alcohol free, going through this program and in Limitless?
It just feels good. It just you feel relaxed in the morning when you wake up. You can, and you still have bad days. Everybody still has bad days, but you know, the being able to feel like you've got it and able to cope with things, not feeling like it's going to snap every minute. I did my for the last few years, my levels, when I would get blood work done, my liver levels were way out of control, and that made sense. And so about a month ago, I went and I got I got my blood work done, and I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen normal in so many years. And it was my body's way of saying, thank you for not doing this and not poisoning us anymore. But just the feeling of feeling good about it. And the other feeling too, at least for me, was sharing stuff with people. You know, I tell people that I've done this program. I tell people that I just was doing it for my health and my well-being. I tell people I don't drink. You know, I don't drink. Whereas, gosh, I would have never said that, you know, for the longest time. That would have been some kind of stigma I never wanted to put on myself. But it just feels good to feel good. And it feels good not to be poisoning myself. And it's, you know, and to just look at myself and go, you know what, you did something and you should be proud of yourself. And that's another thing that I've been working on, and, you know, and through coaching too, is that be happy with the things that you've accomplished. And I am, you know, you learn to say you did something good here, and you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's so wonderful to hear, and to hear that the change going from a fairly dark place to this place of just light and joy. And I guess for anyone listening, hearing that, like, yeah, but, you know, it's not that bad. You know, I need to have something. you know, this is the only thing that I have. We find ways of justifying. I used to do the same. We just shared how you used to justify it, and everyone does that. So there'll be a lot of people like, yeah, but if you've ever been sober curious, and again, it's not forever. I always say this to my clients, like, it's not forever. It's for now. It's for now, right? And, you know, why not give yourself the chance to go and experience that? Because in the grand scheme of things, a couple of weeks, couple of months, in the grand scheme of things in life, what's it going to matter? Go and see how good you can feel, right? Give yourself that opportunity, that chance to go and feel it.
You're giving up alcohol. It's not like you're giving up air. You know, when you look back on it, it was like, this was such a thing that I thought I could not live without. It isn't protein, it's poison. I mean, you know, it was, you know, I look back on it and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this thing ruled my life. Like, all my social interactions, all my dinners, all my whatever. It's, to be that reliant on a substance it's pretty scary on how it happens. But it also shows you how hard it is to change those connections or synapses, whatever, to make the habits go a different way.
Yeah. I just wrote down what you said there. You're giving up alcohol. You're not giving up air. I love that. That might be the title.
You know, you think that you are, like, you walk in going, oh my gosh, I can't possibly do this. Oh, that's for other people. It's not me. Oh yeah. Okay. Sober October. All right. October 31st. Boom. Let's go back to the way that it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
that's the thing. When we look at it, it's because it's normal. It's like these days, what's normal is what everyone else is doing. This is the fear of when we do something that's not normal, then we feel shame or we feel disconnect. And that is, we are hardwired for connection. Neurobiological science has proven this, that we are hardwired for connection. So when we feel that fear of disconnection, that worry that we're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and we've all had that. I think many people who come through this program, they feel like one of their main concerns is, they think that one of their main concerns is breaking the news to what others are going to say, if they're going to be pushed out of their groups, or if they're, like you say, not considered not funny and stuff. I always challenge that, because what it turns out to be is that it's not actually that fear about what other people's going to say. Some of it, sure. But the main reason is, if I say it to others, then I'm also accountable. So they're kind of tricking themselves a little bit. They worry, if I say it, then I really have to do it, right? So that is taking that extra step. But they're also right in that there is that fear of this connection, how people are going to judge. And many people do. Many people will have a problem with it. Well, many, I say, for many people, but for one individual, there might be one or two people throughout this journey, through this program, that they have problems with. And that one or two, that person or those two people will be someone that maybe themselves are questioning their relationship with alcohol, right? Maybe that, they're putting all their happiness on this one night that you're hanging out and you're not drinking. It kind of ruins their fun. Don't be a party pooper and all that. And there's nothing we can do about that. Did you ever experience anything like that throughout your experience? And did you have concerns about it in the beginning?
I had huge concerns about it. Drinking was always part of everything, everything that I did, watching games or anything like that. My best friend and I would, when I would visit her, we would definitely, what we did was hang out at night and just drink and tell stories and listen to music and all this other stuff. And I remember being scared shitless for whatever reason, because I was going, I was talking with her and I needed to tell her that I wasn't drinking anymore. And she was just like, okay, why? We talked a little bit about it, and it was not an event. Like, I thought it was going to be earth crushing, and it wasn't an event. And then the first time I went to go visit her, and she drank, and that's fine. I have no problems. We had talked through a lot of what I had gone through. I drank my non-alcoholic, drinks that I had, and we still had a good time, and we still laughed, and we still listened to music, and she didn't care. Like, it wasn't about that. And we're talking about we usually see each other around the holidays and around New Year's. And she's like, okay, so we'll have alcohol-free champagne this year for you and blah, blah. And and I told her I was so worried. And she's like, why? And I said, I thought you were going to judge me. She goes, why would I judge you? She said, this is a decision that you made for you, and you're a better person for it, and I'm proud of you. Boom. Like, wow. To have somebody say that instead of this thing that was going on in your head and shaking up and the world's going to end and people are going to laugh at you and whatever. It was nothing, and even now, like, I'll go to a work event, and I'll have club soda with lime, and it looks like a drink. And somebody will be like, well, what are you drinking? Club soda with lime. Okay, whatever. Like, let's talk about the weather. Like, there's been a couple of times where I've had a smart ass bartender who's been like, oh, what do you mean you're not drinking? And blah, blah, blah. And the person with me has just been like, she doesn't drink. The end. But for the most part, you build it up so much in your head, and it really wasn't that bad, because the people that care about you and want to be with you because you're you, not because you're drunk you. Bingo. Couldn't have answered that before CC. Would have never said that before CC.
No. It's incredible, isn't it? When you see that, how different our mindset can be just within this matter of weeks, right? Months, but weeks and days sometimes. Oh, beautiful. So, you know, so you went through CC and then you're like, this is good. And you decided to join the continuation program Limitless, which you're still part of. And I love those rowdy group calls. They're always a hoot. A lot of fun. My stomach always hurting. But, you know, it's so beautiful to see all these people that in the continuation program, you have your cohort, you have other cohorts, previous CCs, and CCs are continuously dropping in there with new people coming in. And it's so beautiful to watch that community grow and support each other. And like people from all walks of earth, all over the planet, right? But when it comes down to those conversations, the support and the love that everyone has for each other and the space that they hold for each individual is really, honestly, it makes my day every time. And I think that piece of what we make so important within this program is that connection piece, the community. And connection is such an important thing for us, because when we're having a tough time, it's so nice to know that we're not alone in it, you know? And
Yep.
when things are great, we want to share it with some also. And so what would you say, how do you feel about connectivity now? And how do you see yourself navigate through either a group like this within our complete control or limitless control program and in life in general? How do you feel right now? Like where is your confidence at? And how much has that changed since, let's say, 9 months back?
Connection is so important. And I mean, I realized the value in, you know, being around people, you know, whether it's, you know, a Zoom call or Slack or however, of being connected to people who are in the same boat as you, and being able to share those things. And when you have good things, being able to talk about them and celebrate them. And when you're having things that you don't get, putting it out there. And there's always someone who will say, yep, I did this, or let's talk, you know, this is what you need to do, or hey, you're going to be okay. It's going to work out. And, you know, it gives you a good feeling to know that there's always somebody who gets it and always somebody who understands, because everybody has a bad day here. Everybody has a good day here, like being able to share that stuff. Confidence. I was never a non-confident person. Like, I'm not a wallflower by any means. But what I feel now is stronger mentally, and I know I'm stronger emotionally. I'm not picking fights with, you know, my significant other because I'm drinking and something's bugging me. I'm not, you know, I'm not going through social media and getting all upset because I'm drinking and somebody got me going on something. It's just a more settled, stronger feeling in you. And definitely it comes a lot from being able to have those connections with people. Even my accountability partners that I have. I mean, I have 2 great accountability partners, and, you know, one would be a natural fit. You know, she would definitely be a natural fit with me when I met her. And the other one, you wouldn't expect. He's a lot quieter type of a guy, and he's, you know, he shares a little bit, but not like it's just, it didn't exactly make sense. But the 2 of them together, it was just like a great combination for me. And, you know, even yesterday we had a group call, and he texted me yesterday. He hadn't been on calls in a couple of weeks. He's like, "Oh, I wanted to see your face, and I'm sorry, and I don't feel good, but let's chat a little bit, blah, 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 blah." So we had like a 10-minute chat, and then that was it. You know, It's just those connections. It's just having those people that you can talk to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so lovely, because people who go through each cohort, each program of complete control, you know, there are some really lifelong friendships that are created there, and, you know, the connections make sure that people pair up and become accountability partners. But, you know, this goes beyond just the program, and we see that every time that, you know, people connect from all over the world, and we've seen people. It's a little bit easier in Europe and getting to London if you're in the UK. So we've had several meetups in UK, but also in Spain and in several areas we get more and more people meeting up, and we're hoping there's going to be a bigger meetup planned eventually once we get organized. But it's just beautiful to see these friendships build, but also how people who have done CC and they're a different cohort, they're in a different group, and they come into LC and there's all these new people. It's a little bit like being on the first day of school, right? Oh my goodness, when you're little and worried who's going to pick me for sports or whatever. But we all regress in that way when we join a new group. But it's so beautiful to see that the welcoming and the love and nurture, because everyone knows, everyone's had the same journey. Mm-hmm. And, in CC, you have all these high-achieving individuals who are successful. And the more successful you are in general, the people who are coming through this program are, entrepreneurs, CEOs, high-achieving individuals. And the more successful you are, the lonelier it gets. Like, who do you get to talk to about your problems or situation? And alcohol is such a subject that is also brought with so much fear. Like, who are you going to talk to? Your team? No, not really. So it's really watching this platform where watching all these people come together where they feel like, it's like a relief almost. Like I can talk about, like you mentioned, right? You referenced before about sitting in this group, listening to people go, oh my gosh, that's me, even though their story is completely different. Their situation is different, but their life and what they're feeling, what they're going through with this topic, everyone's like nodding and going through, and it's so beautiful to see. So for those who are listening now and they're like, oh gosh, well, I do dry January or sober October, and that's kind of my thing. But maybe they have something in their mind that they're kind of going, maybe I want to try out what MT is saying about feeling everything from the tips of my toes to tips of my fingers, experiencing all the senses and breathing and feeling. And if they're curious, but they're like, oh gosh, but I couldn't really, what would you say to them?
Yeah, you can. I know it sounds trite, and, that's what a lot of people would say, but I am not the kind of person I was before I started this. And I would have told you, earlier this year before I started that there was no way that I could have done this. But you can, and it's funny, and I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm like, but don't half-ass it. If you're going to come into this and you're going to make the commitment, and there's a lot of commitment. There's time, there's financial, there's, emotional, big time emotional commitment. Go into it with the right frame of mind and it will work. We've seen it with all of the people that go through our, that were in my CC and then my LC. It's different for everybody, but there's change in it, and this is good change. And, you can't do it for anybody else. You can't, nobody's gonna check you into doing this. So you have to do it yourself. If you wanna feel better, then you just do it. And, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You don't get cured and have this, it's, I'm fixed. I'm never going to want to drink again for the rest of my life. It's, there's days that you're still going to go, okay, but let's think about what I learned and why I want to do this. But you can. I am the ultimate example of somebody who would have said that they couldn't live without having fun and not having a glass in their hand, and you can't. And the world does not end because you don't have wine. That's it.
I love that. Honestly, it's been a pleasure watching you grow, and you keep growing, and your family has grown. You got 2 little beautiful doggies that you've taken on. I think that was
my graduation present from CC. It was 2 puppies.
Yeah, ginormous dogs.
Now they're 50 pounds apiece.
I feel like I've watched them grown up. It's wonderful. So it's just, honestly, it's just every time I speak to you, you know, your eyes are, and your face is brighter and brighter and brighter. And, you know, your smile has always been there, but now, you know, you don't even have to smile to see the joy on your face. And it's an absolute pleasure. So thank you for agreeing to coming on to share your journey about complete control. And for those who feel like complete control, it sounds like a good idea, you can check it out, you know, but even if you feel like you want to have a little bit of a check-in with yourself and alcohol and maybe transform your relationship with alcohol, then why not? Because we keep saying it, but don't take it from us. Take it from people who have done it. Listen to the people on this podcast. This is why we bring you amazing human beings on here too, so you can be that beacon of light for others and to tell them that, hey, if life feels good, it can be even better. And, you know, that's what.
And I say thank you. You know, I said it when we graduated from CC. Thank you to you and Rory and Emma and all of the coaches. I mean, I am not poisoning myself anymore. I got my life back. And I would not have ever thought that I was going to say that earlier in the year. So thank you to all of you and this program, because it's amazing what it has done for me.
Thank you so much for coming onto this podcast. And I really appreciate you so much. And I love having conversations with you. So thank you all for listening today, and see you back on the next episode. Until then, take care.